It is time for yet another video in the series that I have entitled the Obscure Window Manager Project. What is the Obscure Window Manager Project? Well, I am taking a look at 11 minimal window managers that the general Linux desktop population probably doesn't know much about, or in some cases anything about. So I'm taking a look at 11 minimal window managers. Today I'm reviewing number 8 out of 11. Today I'm taking a look at Fluxbox, so let's get started. So today, of course, is Fluxbox. Of the 11 window managers I've already taken a look at, I believe Fluxbox will be number 8 out of 11. Let me go ahead and load up my VM here, and let's see. This is the list of window managers that I was reviewing for this particular series. I've already taken a look at FVWM, JWM, Openbox, PECWM, Qtile, TWM, Xmonad, and Awesome. Today, we're taking a look at Fluxbox. So let me log in here. And this is Fluxbox out of the box when you install it. Basically, you get a solid color background. Now, Fluxbox does come with a panel. So you have the panel, you have your little workspace switcher here. And looks like by default comes with 4 different workspaces, 4 different desktops. And of course you have a taskbar here if I open something here. Let's see if I go under shells and maybe open my termite terminal here. You see I have a taskbar here that I can minimize and unminimize windows. So Fluxbox is a little different than Openbox in that it is a little more usable right out of the box, right out of the gate, because you do have a panel. Fluxbox doesn't even have a panel. Or, excuse me, Openbox doesn't even have a panel. You have to install some third-party panel or dock with Openbox. So that could be a plus for some people. It's why a lot of minimal distros, if they're going to do a minimal ISO, usually will install something like Openbox in that rather than Openbox, is because Fluxbox, just out of the gate, is already somewhat usable. So Fluxbox here today. Let's see, where should we get started configuring this thing? Well, I guess the first thing we need to do is the menu system. You have a right-click menu system. Now this menu system that I'm showing you was not here by default. The default menu is very sparsely populated. Basically, you have links to a terminal, a web browser, maybe a text editor, and not much else. How did I get this this menu system here? Well, I installed a program called Menu Maker. Let me launch up a web browser here, and we'll actually search out Menu Maker. Well, first let me run this command, mmaker. I've already got it installed, and to make your menu for something like Fluxbox, mmaker space Fluxbox space, I'm going to give it a -F for force, and then I need to specify some terminal, so -T, I know Xterm is installed here. Anyway, what that just did, let me restart Fluxbox, is it updated my menu here. And now I should have Firefox. I installed Firefox earlier, but it didn't appear in this menu. This is the reason I needed to run that command. But with Fluxbox, what you want to do is you want to search for a program called Menu Maker. And here it is, Menu Maker. What is Menu Maker? Menu Maker is a menu generation utility for the X Windows systems on Unix systems. It is supported window managers are Blackbox, DeskMenu, Fluxbox, IceWM, Openbox, PECWM, Window Maker, and XFCE. So the reason I already had Menu Maker installed is because I've previously reviewed Openbox and PECWM on the same ISO, so I already had Menu Maker installed from doing those window managers. And basically, once you have to configure it from source. Menu Maker is not going to be in anybody's repos, but it's very easy, very straightforward. And then once you have Menu Maker installed, you basically run a command, mmaker, and the name of the window manager you're trying to create your right-click menu for. So in Openbox, it would be mmaker Openbox. In PECWM, it would be PECWM. Well, I actually didn't mean to run that, but luckily it didn't do anything. And then menu maker Fluxbox, of course. And usually you'll have to give it this -F flag for force. And that will create this right-click menu for you. And it will be populated with all your .desktop files. So these are programs that are actually installed on my system. Rather than the default menu system, which just has a few links to a few programs. Many of them you probably don't even have installed. So this menu here is actually really nice. So you have all your desktop applications organized by category, and of course at the bottom you have the Fluxbox category, which includes things such as configuring Fluxbox, reconfiguring Fluxbox, restarting Fluxbox, and of course exiting out of Fluxbox. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is play around with some of the Fluxbox config files. Now, first of all, we need to figure out where the Fluxbox config files are located on the system. So I'm going to go through my menu here, my right-click menu. I'm going to search for my file manager. I have PCMan-FM installed here. This is the PCMan-FM file manager. And in the home folder, in your home directory, you should have a hidden directory called .fluxbox. So .fluxbox. So Fluxbox is a little old school. Nowadays, most modern programs, they're going to put their config files in this folder right here, .config. You'll go into .config, and then you'll have the name of that particular program, Fluxbox. You know, in this case, would have a folder here, and that's where all the config files would be. But some older programs, unfortunately, don't do this. They still put their config files in the home directory. So .fluxbox in the home directory is where you will find the config files for Fluxbox. So we have 9 different plain text documents here for Fluxbox, for configuring Fluxbox. I'm not going to play with most of these. One that interests me right away is the startup script here. It's a shell script. And it's either an empty file or that didn't open right. It opened in Vim, but there's nothing there. Let me right click on this and open it with a different text editor. How about Genie? Okay, so it's not an empty document. There is something there. For some reason, though, it didn't want to launch correctly in Vim. I think that's a problem with PCMan-FM. Actually, not PCMan-FM. It's a problem with the Termite terminal, my default terminal. For some reason, with PCMan-FM and Termite, if you set PCMan-FM to open things in Vim in Termite, such as plain text documents, it always opens an empty file. I'm not sure why that is. Alright, so this is the startup script here in Fluxbox. Let's see if I can zoom this in so you guys can see it a little better. Alright, so basically every line of this is pretty much commented out, so nothing is starting up by default. I'm going to go ahead and create a new line, though. I know I want wallpaper eventually. I have nitrogen installed on this system, so nitrogen sets my wallpaper. So nitrogen space -- restore space, and then we need to end the line with an ampersand. And now every time we log into Fluxbox, nitrogen will set our wallpaper. So the next time I log into Fluxbox, instead of having this very plain just solid color background, we'll actually have a wallpaper set. And that's really the only thing I'm going to set for a startup program. So, but that's pretty much all you do for the startup programs. Let's see, the other config files here that would interest me a lot, I would really like to play around with the keys file here. As you might guess, keys is the key bindings here in Fluxbox. For example, Alt plus left right click on the mouse, move and resizes windows. Mod 1, which is your Alt key, plus mouse 3, does a raise, focus, start resizing, nearest corner, yada yada yada. You guys can read this. Mod 4, which is your super key, and 1. Tabs to 1, meaning I guess it goes to a specific tab in your current window. So if you have tabs open, Super 1 goes to tab 1, Super 2 goes to tab 2, that sort of thing. Mod 1 and F1 executes Xterm. So that's Alt F1 will launch an Xterm. So this is the default config. I haven't done anything to it. You know what though? In my Openbox sessions, I'm able to do some pseudo tiling. I'm able to, put windows in certain quadrants on the desktop. I wonder if I can do that in Fluxbox. I'm actually going to minimize this. I'll come back to it in a minute. I don't need this terminal up. I'm just going to close it. Let me open up the web browser again, Firefox. I'm just going to do a search. How about Fluxbox tiling? Okay, this first one here. Okay, it can do some pseudo tiling. Matter of fact, here is this guy's config here. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put that in my keys config file here. Alright, so now I have this new section called tiling. One thing I noticed, he has his key binding set to Control Mod 1, which is Alt. Control Alt, left and right, up and down on the arrow keys. These are not going to work for me because these are already set. Control Alt, left and right are already set to key bindings in Fluxbox to move through your workspaces. Workspace 2, Workspace 3, Workspace 4. Because they're already set, I can't use them again for some other key binding. So I need to change this. So I'm going to change this to Shift. We'll do Shift. And instead of Mod 1, how about Mod 4? So Shift and the super key. Because I'm pretty sure that's not being used in anything else by default here in Fluxbox. So now, let me just do a save. I'm going to restart Fluxbox. And now Shift Super Left should resize our windows to 50%. 50% on the y-axis, on the x-axis, 100% on the y-axis, and move it to the left. Okay, I see how this is going to work. So, Super Shift Left. Basically, it puts it on the left-hand side of the screen. It takes up exactly half of the screen on the left-hand side of the screen. Super Shift Right, of course, moves it to the right half. Super Shift Up, because we have this line here, is going to do the same thing. Give it exactly one half of the screen except the top half. And Super Shift Down, as you might guess, gives it the bottom half of the screen. And Super Shift Enter finally gives it the whole 100% screen. And it toggles. Super Shift Enter again would just put it back to the last thing it was before you went full screen. So that is some pseudo tiling there. Now we could play with these a little bit. For example, if instead of doing exactly half, what if I wanted to divide the desktop into a grid of 3 by 3? Say 9 different quadrants, if you will. Well, I could do something like 33% here as far as the size. Move to the left. Yeah, I'm just going to change them all to 33%. Now I know this is not going to work exactly the way I want it, but let me restart. Alright, so now Super Shift 1 does nothing. Oh, sorry, Super Shift Left, Super Shift Right, Super Shift Up, Super Shift Down. Okay. So they kind of work. What I would want to do, though, is, since I want to do a grid of 3 by 3, so I'm going to have 9 different spots on the desktop. what I need to do is I need to do a grid 3x3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set these to Super Shift and then 1 through 9 on my keypad. So instead of left, I want this to be keypad underscore 1. This one here would have to be keypad underscore 3. In between those, I would want this one, keypad underscore 2. Hopefully you guys are understanding where I'm going with this here in just a second. The bottom one here would eventually be keypad underscore 8 is where I would go with that one. I don't need this one here at all. Let me restart. So now Super Shift 1 on the keypad, 2 on the keypad, 3 on the keypad, 5 on the, or 8 on the keypad, and then I don't have the other keypad set yet. So that kind of works for what I'm doing, but not quite. Let's see if I can play with this and get this set exactly the way I want it. For one thing, I notice keypad 2 is not working correctly. Super Shift keypad 2, I want it at the top, centered. I'm getting the top, but it's not centered. So move 2, and then we have 0, 0, and 0, 0. These are X coordinates, Y coordinates. I want it at the top, but I want it moved over some. Wonder how far I need to move it over. Let's go with 350 pixels. The only way to find out if this works, restart Fluxbox. Now, Super Shift 2. Okay, does move it over. It doesn't move it over far enough, though, so I need to do some playing around with that to figure out how exactly to get that to work. But you know what? I'm going to do this off camera. I want to pause the video for a few minutes. You guys kind of see where this is going, so I don't want to take up too much time with this. I'm going to take about 3 minutes, and I'm going to configure this where Super Shift keypad 1 through 9 gives me the 3x3 quadrant tiling that I want to do. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I took a couple of minutes here. I've played around with the key bindings here, and this may be a little crude what I've done here, but let me save. I've already saved it. Let me close this out. I'm going to restart Fluxbox. And let me open something. I think I already had a file manager open. Yeah, the PC Man FM file manager. Now, Super Shift keypad 1. Super Shift keypad 2. Super Shift keypad 3. Super Shift keypad 4. Super Shift keypad 5. Super Shift keypad 6. Keypad 7. Keypad 8. Keypad 9. And Super Shift Enter, full screen. Super Shift Enter again toggles back to the one before we went full screen. All right. So you can do some pseudo tiling. I'm not sure how practical doing these 3x3 grid is. That's a little small. Most of you would just do 2x2. You know, do it in 4 quadrants. Of course, the most useful one would be to divide the screen into 2 panes, a left side and a right side. And actually, you could actually add key bindings for doing all of that. You could have key bindings to basically use a 2x2 quadrant, a 3x3 kind of quadrant, or just split the screen in half, whether left, right, up and down. So that is some of the pseudo tiling. This page that I'd copied this from, there was one mistake in it. You see left, right, bottom, and he also has up. Up is not correct. That should have been top. And that's why it took me more than a couple of minutes to fix some of those keypad bindings. So, all right, the next thing we want to do. I don't like the theme. So let's open up Firefox again. There is a Fluxbox theme I've used in the past that I kind of like. It's called Cilia. So I'm going to do a search for Fluxbox. Let's see, Fluxbox Cilia theme. And I believe it's hosted somewhere on GitHub, but I'm not exactly sure where it is on GitHub. right here. It's like Fluxbox-themes is the name of the repository / Cilia. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to download. I'm going to download all of this repo here. Not sure how long this is going to take. He has a few different Fluxbox themes, but really I just wanted this one. I didn't really need to download everything in this repo. But we've already started downloading it. Okay, so I've downloaded those themes from that particular GitHub repo. One thing I want to do is, let me go to the shells category here. Let me open up my terminal. I want to open up my file manager, which is PCManFM, but I want to do it as root. So sudo PCManFM. So we have to give it a root password. Alright, so now I'm the root user here inside PCManFM. I'm going to go to my downloads directory because this is where those themes would have been downloaded. Fluxbox themes master. That's what I want. Cilia is the one I wanted here. Fluxbox style, Cilia, this particular folder. I'm going to Control-C to copy it. And then inside this root PCManFM, the sudo PCManFM, I'm going to go to /user/share/Fluxbox. Because this is where the Fluxbox themes will be placed. Again, Fluxbox doesn't use, your conventional directory structure. Normally themes would go in user share themes, but for Fluxbox it goes in user share Fluxbox styles. So this is where I'm going to paste, Control-V, paste, and put that Cilia theme here. And now when I right click on the desktop and go to the Fluxbox category here and go to styles, one of the styles should be Cilia. It is. But before I show you the Cilia theme here, we also have ArtWiz, Blue Flux, Blue Night, Emerge, Flux. Man, some of these are just hideous looking. Lemon Space, Macro, Merly K. I mean, that's not even readable. Meta. Okay, Meta's not bad. I mean, this is the first one in the list that's actually kind of usable. I'm shocked at how bad some of these Fluxbox themes look. I mean, some of these are just really, really unusable. And I don't know why. Because it's pretty easy to create a Fluxbox theme. I mean, it's not complicated. Why would you choose some of these crazy colors? And you can't even read some of the text sometimes in these menus. That one right there is actually not bad. What style is that? It's called Twice. That's not bad. Arch here is not bad either. I kind of like that one. I'm not going to go through the rest of the list, though. You get the idea. They're all hideously ugly. Now, this Cilia one that I just downloaded is not bad. Let me close the window here, the terminal. Let me open up. Here is my right-click menu with the Cilia theme. I do need to play around with the colors. This light blue background really doesn't belong in this theme. But anyway, you see my top bar now has some kind of teal colors going on with a little bit of red. Kind of cool. And the panel now has almost like a power line kind of effect going on. So if I open up, say, another PCManFM, maybe a terminal or two. You see, there's some kind of bugginess going on with the images. It's not quite right. I would have to play with it to fix it a little bit. But it's not bad. I mean, this is something to work on. I mean, I could hack this theme and make it look pretty respectable. But this is not a bad looking Fluxbox theme as is. I would just need to tinker with it, get this panel looking a little bit more professional. Some kind of weird glitches here, I guess, with some of the images in the theme. The Fluxbox panel and the theming and all can use Pixmaps, I believe. So it does have some images as part of the theme. Anyway, one thing, we set the startup script to load a wallpaper for us, but we never exited out of Fluxbox and exited back into Fluxbox to see if that wallpaper actually works. So let me log back into Fluxbox. And yeah, nitrogen is setting our wallpaper. So we're never going to get that plain screen again. Every time we log in, Nitrogen will restore our wallpaper. So this is Fluxbox. Again, we didn't do much with it today, but you know what? We got our startup script working, although we're only starting one program, Nitrogen, to set our wallpaper, but you could start anything. You guys that want to use a compositor, like the Compton compositor, you just add Compton to that startup script, or Conky, if you guys want to put a Conky on the desktop. You guys have seen me do that in the reviews of Openbox and PECWM and JWM. That's pretty straightforward. The key binding stuff, you guys saw me play around with that. I actually took quite a bit of time on that for this video. I hope it didn't bore you guys to tears, me playing around with some of the key bindings. But you know what? I thought that was pretty important to show you guys, because really, the key bindings are some of the important things with these minimal window managers. Is, you know, the pseudo tiling that I can do now is kind of cool. I could actually probably arrange this in such a way that I could have it binded to open on a specific desktop or workspace. So open in this quadrant of the screen on workspace 2, for example. So really powerful stuff with those key bindings. Of course, key bindings to launch programs. I could set, you know, like the mod key and G for Genie, for the Genie text editor if I wanted, or mod key and F for file manager, or Firefox, or whatever I wanted to mod key that to. So you can actually have hotkeys to launch all your favorite programs. Really, really neat stuff. Fluxbox is very lightweight. Let's check a system monitor. Let's see, do we have HTOP installed by default? Let me open up a terminal. I'm pretty sure I already had HTOP installed from some of the other reviews I've done in the Obscure Window Manager project. 187 megs is what we're using right now. Very, very lightweight on RAM. Almost no CPU usage. This VM today I'm running, I think I gave it 2 cores on my 6-core CPU. Yeah, because I'm showing 2 cores here in HTOP. It's using less than 1% of the CPU. And again, 187 megs of RAM. So Fluxbox, I mean, the advantage of using something like Fluxbox is that it's very lightweight, very customizable. What is the difference between using Fluxbox and something like Openbox? You guys know I'm a big Openbox fan, or PECWM for that matter, JWM. They're all these box-like window managers. Well, to be honest, Openbox is a little bit more powerful, a little bit more configurable than most of them. It's a little more feature-rich because of the nature of Openbox. It is the default window manager in the LXDE desktop environment. And it's usually the default window manager in the LXQt desktop environment. So Openbox has a lot of people that use it. Millions of people probably use it in full desktop environments. And it does have some development underway where I'm not sure what kind of development is going on with Fluxbox these days. The other thing I like about Openbox more than Fluxbox, like a lot of these key bindings and, you know, some of the pseudo tiling, I can do a little more with Openbox than what I can do with Fluxbox. That was kind of confusing. I was doing some of the tiling stuff I was doing here in Fluxbox. It's a little more straightforward to get that stuff set up in Openbox. The other thing, Fluxbox does not have pipe menus, dynamically created menus. I can't write a shell script or a Python script and have that outputted to one of these submenus here. Like I can't write a script to show all the files in a particular directory on my system. Like say I wanted to show you all my VirtualBox virtual machines and have it piped out into one of these menus. I can't do that with something like Fluxbox. It doesn't have that kind of functionality. Openbox does. JWM also did, by the way. You could write shell scripts, Python scripts, and have it outputted into the menu. You can't do that with Fluxbox, and I really, really love dynamic menus. That's one of the big selling points of Openbox. So, you know, you guys wondering, you know, what minimal window manager, if you wanted a Openbox type window manager, should you go with Openbox? Should you go with Fluxbox? Should you go with JWM? You're going to like Openbox more. It's a little easier. It's a little bit more customizable. And it's more feature rich than both of those particular window managers. So that is the Fluxbox window manager. our very quick review of that particular window manager. I really like Fluxbox though. I can see why it's usually like the window manager of choice and a lot of minimal ISOs, because again, easy to use, very lightweight, and it comes with a panel by default, something Openbox does not. Before I go, I do want to give a quick shout out to all my patrons, all my Patreon supporters. AK Ron, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Brian, Carl, Greg, Carlos, Rob, Matt, Darkwin, Mark, Christian, Jake, Benjamin, Steven, Marcus, Interceptor, Bob, Leor, and Omar. Thank you guys. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.